rise again to glory then, soar into the sky. If you stop and see, and you just might believe, we're unstoppable, powerful, enough to beat the odds. If you love me, you will see the flames inside of me.
How's that? Why is there like a... What's that noise? There's like a skip. What's going on? Oh my... Oh. Oh dear me. Oh, Skype is happening. Oh. Oh god. Okay, what do you guys think of 2 of the same game? Let's see what happens. We get... Okay, this is the plan here. Check this out. We will finish 2 routes at the same time. How terrible do you think that will go? Skype, shut up. Let's do this. I'm a multitasker. This is a YouTuber. This is what a YouTuber does. This is fucking bullshit. What do you guys think? Yeah, give me a second while I fix this. Not even gonna tell you how long it took to adjust that crop. Anyways, everybody, welcome back to Seduce Me, the Demon War. And we're gonna load to August 8th. I hope. I sat up screaming through the air! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness, this is really getting on my nerves. So let's just put myself on offline. There we go. Screaming through the air as my hands clasped themselves around my neck. Choke yourself. My scream reverberated throughout the room. Barely letting me notice Matthew falling out of bed beside me. Oh dear. Ooh, my key. I didn't adjust anything before I started this. Oh my goodness.
Whoa!
I quickly looked over at the sound of a hard thump on the ground. Seeing Matthew's curly head peek out from over the side of the bed, his hand ran over his hair as a pained groan escaped his lips.
Oh.
Whoops. Whoops. Oh my god! Oh, he looks so sad. Ignoring what had just happened to me, I scrambled across the bed and slid off the bed to kneel beside Matthew. Luckily, he wasn't badly hurt, but he rubbed his head obviously disoriented from falling out of bed. To add more insult to injury, Simon had crawled down from the mantel and began to poke at Matthew with his mini knife. Ugh. You guys didn't take that away from him? Thankfully, the knife wasn't actually sharp, so all it did was prod and poke at Matthew's skin without drawing blood. Can I just say, me and Matthew made the same expression at the same exact time. And I'm just gonna... See, I didn't adjust anything before I got here. So I'm just gonna... Bye! Yeah, that was fun. Was it at 93 before? 91. 91's nice. I like 91. 91's a good idea. That over to the side. There we go. There.
Simon! Simon, knock it off!
Why? Why is he poking you in the first place? Matthew flailed his arm, almost knocking Simon away with his hand. Taking the hint, Simon jumped onto the bed and began to hop around on top of it as his own distraction while I looked at Matthew. I am so sorry, you okay?
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine. Ow.
Yeah, I'm fine. Ow. Matthew grimaced, stretching his back and neck before shaking his head and looking up at me, slightly bleary-eyed, whatever, from sleep.
Are you okay? Or did you have another nightmare?
You said that a little weird, but yeah! I looked down at the ground between us, remembering the nightmare I was trapped in. I could only nod, pressing my lips together, causing Matthew to frown.
I'm sorry. Do you want a hug?
Give me a hug! Hugs fix everything. I didn't open my guide before I did this, son of a bitch! It just takes forever. Okay, this one. Wait. This one. No, wait. Took my life, whatever. The Damien. Wait, who's that? No. Matthew, aha. Please, okay. Whoop. Please. Despite the nightmare, I still loved Matthew and needed him with me. I knew the dreams I was having weren't real, and even if they were trying to warn me of something, Matthew was still the man I was going to be married to, even if he is a psychotic kidnapper, sorry. The man I was going to marry. Did I not just read that? Going to be married to. Same thing. Matthew smiled softly before swiveling onto his knees and hugging me to his body, laying my hand on his shoulder. Head, not my hand. Here, put your hand on my shoulder. Make me feel better. I wrapped my arms around him and closed my eyes, taking in his reassuring scent. Oh yeah, you smell good. Just making that joke while looking at his face like, please stop sniffing me. As the set of knocks appeared at our door, however, Matthew and I shot our heads in the direction of the sound.
Oi! Time to wake up! We got grub!
Ugh, can you not call it that?
Ugh. Matthew and I looked at each other before scrambling up onto the bed and forgetting that someone was on it. I slid across the bed and sat down, trying to make it seem like I had just woken up. As Matthew tried to crawl over, Bud wound up, making Simon release a heavy squeak. Ah! More like Matthew releasing a heavy squeak, goodness. Once again, Matthew fell off the bed and landed on the floor, releasing another shout of pain. For the love of Pete, we need a bigger bed.
Is everything alright in there?
Don't worry. It's okay. Why is everybody at the door?
We're fine. We're fine.
I'm just gonna stay here on the floor. Simon, cackling at Matthew's mistake, scrambled up back into the fireplace mantle and became a doll once more as I cleared my throat. Come in. Welcome back. As the door opened, Matthew threw himself onto the mattress, placing his head on his hand, like he had completely planned to kneel beside the bed, as his brothers and their wives entered with plates of food in their hands. Yeah, totally meant to do that. Yeah, what's up? Damien and Twyla, such a fairy-like name, she's so cute. The ones who were carrying extra plates of food stopped and stared at us with raised eyebrows. Damien, of course, looked over at the mantle and Simon before smiling and shaking his head, passing his extra plate to Matthew.
Thanks, bro.
Brah.
You're welcome, Matthew.
Brah.
Here you go.
Twyla's so cute. I want a Twyla in my life. Thank you, Twyla. I've been seeing comments like, don't people just get mad when they see that redheaded bitch with Damien? And I'm just like, whoa. Guys, Twyla, look at her. She's adorable. And she sounds so cute.
Here you go.
That's so cute. I don't know why you guys hate Twyla so much. She's adorable, and I'm glad she's with Damien, so I don't have to be. Twyla placed her extra plate in my hand, smiled before walking over to an empty space with Damien and eating. On the plates were sliced fruits, bread, cheese, and some sort of jerky. Just Sam and Sam, yep. James and Sam, however, were the only ones who didn't start indulging in what was on the menu.
So, we have less than a week to prepare for the Demon Lord.
Somebody told me in the comments, because I went over comments this week, that the voice actor for James records with a blanket over his head, which is why he sounds so muffled. I don't even know if that's true. Is there, like, a thing on that? Like, I'm not even gonna look right now, I don't care. I'll find out later.
You know, fuck me. But I'm excited as shit to finally get to kick his ass into the ground.
Fuck me. The other brothers seemed to agree, even Matthew. However, I was stuck on the nightmare I had the night before. You just had it like 10 minutes ago. I constantly rubbed my neck, remembering the feel of the collar around my neck. Doing so caught Iridessa's attention. Goodness.
Hey, what's wrong? Did you hurt your neck?
Yeah, fell off the bed. Matthew's like, you son of a bitch. I instantly looked up and stared, seeing everyone. What is everybody like watching me? Like, if we cough, it's like, oh no, God, are you sick? If we like slightly scratch your nose, oh no, she's dying. Yep, people worry about so much. And Sam just like, the fuck's wrong with you? I instantly looked up and stared, seeing everyone now look at me in curiosity. I shook my head violently. No, not wanting anyone to know what had happened. I'm fine. The wives seemed unconvinced. Wives seemed unconvinced, but they nodded anyway. The boys, however, focused on the battle ahead of us. Boys. Men.
So, do we plan on training like we usually do?
That seems to be the best plan. It's been a long time since we've actually fought in a battle.
Have you fought in one before?
The boys, despite the shame in their eyes, nodded slowly in unison. Yeah.
Part of us living in our father's castle involved receiving the occasional unexpected visitor.
Holy crap, man. I remember one time there was this group that just stormed in and tried to take on the old man, but he sent James to take care of him. I'd never seen James so pissed off before.
I don't think I want to, man.
That's because they threatened to burn the castle down if I didn't surrender. Obviously, that was out of the question.
Well, Sam, what about you when you got into those fights with the army generals? They weren't too happy about you being so testy with them.
Just that hand pose he's doing. It's like, snap fingers. What's up?
They got cocky and thought they could push me around. Fuck 'em and good riddance.
Swearing like a sailor up in here. The more I listened, the more the battle story seemed more about James and Eric and Sam. Damien obviously stayed out of fighting, but what about Matthew? He's busy. I looked to Matthew, seeing him simply eat his food, staring down at his plate. Did he have nothing to add to the conversation? I think I know. I guess it doesn't matter. What about you? What? Even Sam's like, whoa. Matthew looked up at me in surprise. A piece of jerky wedged between his teeth and lips. Huh? I fought back, giggling at the sight, but as everyone turned over and looked at Matthew, I relaxed a bit and waited. I was curious to see if Matthew had any stories of his own to tell. To my surprise, Matthew swallowed the jerky in his mouth and shook his head.
No. I wasn't the fighting type. Never have been, really.
Ow. Hit my knuckles on my desk. Oh. My mind flashed back to him fighting Max and how he managed to only duck and dodge Max's gun, almost had gum, but also make Swiss cheese out of the... Didn't he have daggers or something? Swiss cheese out of the devil in question. Why would Matthew lie? Sam scoffed and spit into the fireplace. Why are you still spitting my fireplace? What's wrong with you? Who's your wife again? I can't even remember. Making us all look over at him.
What a crock of bullshit, Pipsqueak.
Yeah.
Bullshit? What the hell is that supposed to mean?
I cannot believe you just made Matthew swear. How dare you? You made the little cinemuffin swear? Oh.
Don't fucking play dumb with me. I remember you massacring an entire gang of Vince because they looked at your mom funny. I was the one who had to clean that shit up.
How was that? You know. I suddenly went wide-eyed at Matthew, who... Is Matthew a yandere? Is Matthew like Toma? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get locked in a cage again. I can't handle this. Who in turn stared right at me with a fearful frown on his face. More like a look of surprise. He got into fights here? I guess it was to be expected of a demon to at least get into one fight in their life, but Matthew? A massacre?
No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't me.
He is yandere. Or he has multiple personality disorder. Twyla, help me out here. Twyla, you've been here the entire time. Twyla!
Like hell it wasn't.
Dude, shut up!
Twyla's just like, well, you two are idiots.
Make me!
Oh, no.
I will!
No! They're seriously gonna fight? Okay. Sam and Matthew jumped out of their seats and marched at each other, slamming their foreheads together and startling fire burning in each of their eyes. I quickly rushed up and pulled at Matthew's arms, trying to bring him back to the bed. Matthew, calm your You're never this angry!
Sam, knock it off!
Carrie's your way. There we go. What's Carrie look like again? Despite Carrie pulling Sam's arm, I just listen to how Carrie said this.
Sam, knock it off!
It's like she's yelling at a dog. That's exactly how I yell at my dog when she's doing something bad. Despite Carrie also pulling on Sam's arm, neither of us could pull our incubus away from I can't read. From the other as they battled each other with their eyes. The air in the room became full of tense energy until suddenly both of the boys were swatted over the head.
Fuck!
Me!
Ow!
Both of you! That's enough!
Oh, Papa James. I looked up to see James holding his fist that he used to sock the brothers with a glare painted all over his face. Matthew and Sam looked up at their eldest brother, both irritated at being hit, but silent enough to know not to talk back. Did I say silent? I don't know. A moment passed before Sam stood up straight and shook his head, finally allowing Carrie to pull him back to a spot where they could sit down.
Whatever.
Lead him. Meh. Matthew, on the other hand, straightened up and continued to glare at James, almost in defiance. Something sparked in his eyes, something that made me worried, so I pulled his arm back, trying to catch his attention. Hey, come on, chill out, bruh. Matthew finally looked at me, slowly receding back to his normal gaze, before nodding and rubbing his head over the newly formed bruise while sitting down beside me.
Well, this is an interesting family reunion.
This is ridiculous.
Hey, Saddle.
Diana's voice suddenly made all of us turn to the door to see her and Seto in the doorway, with Diana leaning against the archway. As she pushed herself off, and stepped in, Seto followed and closed the door.
Can we help you?
The fuck is Irene? Irene's that bitch with the horns with Eric, I think.
Possibly, if you all want to survive this war and go home. Especially you, my dear.
It's always about me. Dana looked over to me and crossed her arms under her bosom. I'm so overtired. What did she mean? Diana ran a hand through her hair and looked around the room, pressing her lips into a fine line.
So, about all of you participating in the war, you all obviously need to train.
Obviously. Everyone nodded in agreement to Diana's statement. While we weren't battle ready, we still needed to at least know how to defend ourselves. Diana, however, looked at me.
You, most of all.
Rude. Me? Why me? I was suddenly confused. How come I was the odd one out and had to be ready the most? It's a war, Sexto, not a friggin' karate match. The last thing I remembered about me training was that Diana was against the idea altogether. Diana sighed and rubbed her temple.
Apparently, there are guidelines to breaking this curse. Not only do we have to kill the Demon Lord, but you have to be nearby when it happens for the curse to even break.
She's like, I have to be nearby. I'm fucking wonderful. That makes no sense. Where did you learn this?
Shadow. He spent the night trying to find alternative ways to break your curse. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything of the sort, but we found the guidelines to breaking it.
Well, still makes no sense.
Even while it doesn't, it's still better to be safe than sorry. I don't want to kill him and then still have you stuck here because of an error.
I could only sigh and take it in, so I had to be there when the Demon Lord fell. Great! Diana waved her hand dismissively through the air, breaking my potential thoughts.
Anyway, we can't have you dying on the way there, and we can't monitor you when we're in battle. You should at least know how to defend yourself. That's why we've come up with a solution.
Huh? What solution?
Simple. The other rebel leaders and Sarah have agreed that if you'd like a trainer to enhance your abilities, you can train with one of them.
I just wanna... What are you doing, Matthew? Picking a wedgie? Alright, fine. Hey. Stop scratching yourself, dog. You're making the bed shake. Thank you. I stared, seeing Seto step forward with a nod.
Each of the leaders is proficient in a different area of magic and battle strategy. Good enough for self-defense. I can't speak for the others, but I can assure you that with Sarah's skill and training methods, you will be well prepared by the time the siege arrives.
Seto nodded and bowed to me slightly. While I was flattered at the idea, did I really need a trainer? I knew Taekwondo! And I at least knew how to defend myself, demon or not. Then again, we were in the demon world where magic was the norm. What would the others treats me? Yep. Diana ran a hand through her hair, looking to the side as she listed off each leader and their skills.
Sergeant is a brute demon, bred from a nomadic tribe. He most likely teach you the ways of the brute demon, using her fists and speed to keep you alive. Shadow is, by definition, a shadow demon, so he'd probably teach you about dark magic, light manipulation, and assassination. Rabbit is a wild magic-based animal demon, using her animal-focused energy as her weapon. She'd probably teach you how to do the same. Fae? I am honestly not sure. I know they can change their size and use elemental magic as well, but to be honest, I do not know what they would teach you.
Let's go with Shadow this time. What's that, Shadow? Dan nodded. Shadow seemed very intelligent and knew the ins and outs of being sneaky and dodgy. It would definitely help in battle not to get hit and maybe take enemies by surprise. With that, Diana turned on her heel and left the room.
Finish eating. Afterwards, you should start training.
Well, gentlemen, looks like we're in a war. Everyone in the room nodded their affirmation. Why does that word always trip me up? As Diana and Seto left.
Well, It looks like we'll be busy for the next couple of days.
This'll be fun.
Man, training's gonna suck.
Yeah.
It'll be worth it, though.
Damien's right.
As we all finished eating, everyone left to either train or do things on their own. I left to start my own work, determined to be prepared for what was to come. The Demon Lord wasn't going to win. I wouldn't let him. Choosing Shadow defied almost every part of my moral compass. He seemed like a fantastical sociopath. What? Alright, lacking a care for anyone but the war and himself. Still, I had to admit his personality made me curious about his abilities. After all, he was the one that almost sent me back home through Diana's shadow. As memory of the void filled my thoughts, damn it, I began to try to dissect how it was done. Were shadow doorways here? Was Shadow just that powerful? How exactly was he able to a person's shadow into a void through the world? What? Maybe that was the reason why I chose him as my trainer. My curiosity about his abilities were pecking at me, and I needed answers. Learning some of those abilities myself was just the icing on the cake. Ooh, we get to train in the library? Cool. I was guided to the library by a scout, most likely under orders, and found Shadow reading through scrolls on the table nearby the fireplace. Upon me entering, Shadow looked over.
Ah, there you are. Come, sit.
Wait, is our training just gonna be reading? Because no. Shadow motioned a hand towards one of the seats, almost dismissively as he continued to pore over what he was reading. I followed his directions and sat down in the chair, watching him. For a full minute he said nothing. I watched as he read each line off the scrolls before him and occasionally switched scrolls to read what the others had written down on them. The handwriting was hastily scribbled Latin, so there was no way for me to understand it. However, I began to feel a little agitated. Weren't we supposed to be training? Excuse me. I needed to get his attention. This was a little ridiculous. He was not told that he was he not told that he was supposed to actually train me? Why would he expect me, though? What? Whatever. Despite my statement, Shadow continued to ignore me and kept browsing through his scrolls on the table. Shadow! Still nothing. I was becoming even more agitated at the silence. I decided to simply stand up, hopefully to catch his attention. However, as I attempted to do it, I felt myself unable to push off against a chair. Like I was stuck to the seat. Huh? I looked down the chair I was in. It was a simple chair. How was I stuck? I wiggled a bit in my seat. Nothing that I wasn't sitting on anything. What? Knowing that I wasn't sitting on anything sticky, nor was anything keeping me down physically. What the hell? I attempted to stand once more, unable to move any further than a centimeter up from the seat, before needing to sit back down.
Do you understand now, human?
Not really. I looked up at Shadow, seeing him continue to visually ignore me, but noticed a small smirk on his lips. Was he holding me down somehow?
When you can stand, we will begin.
Are you kidding me? You glued my ass to the chair and you know. Oh. Son of a bitch. My eyes widened. This was a test? This was an unfair trap of a test that I fell into, and now I found my way out? I had to figure out how he was trapping me to the chair and stand up. This was going to be an adventure and a half. I looked down and around my body on the seat, seeing my shadow beneath me. It was pretty obvious that he was using my shadow to hold me down, but the question was, how was I going to break its hold? I took a moment to let my thoughts dissect the problem. He was holding me by the shadow. He had to have been. It only made sense. If I could somehow make my shadow disappear, then his hold would vanish along with it. However, how was I going to do that? My shadow was beneath me, formed by a small shape of my body in the firelight. Then it hit me. The firelight. I looked at the fireplace, seeing it burn bright from the pyre within its mouth. It illuminated the room and gave every person and object a shadow. As I stared into it, my plan became set. I smirked and gripped the armrest and planted my feet onto the floor. I pulled the chair up onto its legs, pushing off the ground with my foot, and completely turned the chair around, facing away from it. My entire body became covered in shadow. Okay. But I knew my plan had worked. I no longer felt the hold on me, keeping me in the chair. My shadow vanished in the new darkness around me. I quickly pushed off the chair, finally being able to stand. It seemed so free to be able to stand again, having been trapped in a chair. As I felt my body standing up straight, Shadow let out an impressed,
Quicker than I anticipated.
You doubt me, Shadow. Wink. I glared. Did he honestly think that little of me? Seriously? Oh, you're happy that you made me angry. Okay. Okay. Thanks, guys. I had to stare at Shadow like he had 5 heads. As he turned to me, he smirked at my facial expression, causing me to fight back near to snap at him.
I had to see how intelligent you were. I'm not going to waste time on someone who doesn't know how to use their brain.
I get it. You're playing Mountain Blade. Congratulations. Despite the insult, I could feel that he was underhandedly complimenting me in some twisted way. I guess I was able to pull out of his statement. I guess what I was able to pull out of his statement was that I was smart enough to fend for myself. I could tell this was going to be both an annoying process, but at least an interesting one. Shadow shook his head and stepped away from the table towards me. He gripped the chair I was on and turned back around to face the fireplace before crossing his arms.
What I will be teaching you are mere basics of dark magic. You will be able to hide in plain sight, control your environment, and even defend against impossible odds. I expect you to use these abilities wisely. Understood?
Yes, Sensei. I suddenly became excited. I'll be able to do all those things? The idea of it all became rather fascinating and outright too good to be true. However, I was in the demon world. Anything was possible. I nodded, mentally prepared for whatever he threw my way. I wouldn't fall for another trap. Shadow took in a breath and let out a silent sigh before closing his eyes. His body slowly became pitch black, covered by a wave of shadow despite the firelight on his body. His form slowly melted down to the ground and faded into the shadow of the table beside him. Bye! See you later, Shadow. What? I became confused, but as I stood for a moment, there was only silence as a reply. Was this what he meant by using my brain? I had to copy him? How did he even do that? How was I going to even start trying? You're not going to tell me how to do that? And once again, greeted with silence, making me let out a sigh. I had to figure it out. I played this ball in my head from memory, trying to discern how he made himself into a shadow. Maybe I had to think about becoming a shadow. Did that even make sense? I closed my eyes and tried to imagine darkness covering me. As stupid as it sounded, it was worth a shot. However, as I did, something in my nerves seemed to make me hesitate. I could sense a feeling of cold dread trying to take over my body as I thought about the darkness. Was this something I was supposed to feel? I felt suddenly scared and started to second-guess my desire to learn about dark magic.
Why are you hesitating?
Good question. I heard Shadow's voice rumble through the air, causing me to question the training. Did I want to go through with this? Yes, you do. I shook my head. I needed to be brave about this. It was a new set of skills I could use in battle. I just had to take it slow. I closed my eyes again, took a deep breath, and focused on becoming a shadow. How do you focus on becoming a shadow? Like, feel the darkness. A cold feeling ran through my body, crawling over my skin and completely enveloping me in its embrace. Soon my entire body had become surrounded in frozen numbness. This is freaky. As I opened my eyes, I gasped at the sight. Shadow was once again in front of me, but the room around us had become so visually dark and misty. Like I was in another world, my body felt light as I stepped towards the trainer in confusion. Shadow lifted an arm and gestured dismissively around us towards the environment.
Welcome to the Shadow Plane.
I don't think I want to be here. The Shadow Plane?
Indeed. Think of it as a copy of the real world. But no one lives here except shadows.
That's creepy. I furrowed my eyebrows, still confused but gasped as I heard quick footsteps rushing outside the door. I was shocked to see demons in black hoods and cloaks running back and forth along the halls. What the hell?
Those are my scouts. They use this plane to travel without being hindered by other beings. They're much quicker this way.
I looked at the ground, seeing it coated completely black in darkness. How was I able to be here if this was a new plane? I thought I was trapped in the demon world. How can I be here if I'm cursed?
This plane is part of the demon world, so the curse does not affect you coming here. We are currently shadows of the real world. Untouchable and barely traceable.
I nodded, taking in what he was saying, so I was able to roam around now and not be seen. This was an interesting power. Shadow began to walk out of the room, ushering me to follow him.
Come. You will see the benefit of this world in action.
I don't think I want to. I quickly followed, excited to see what we were going to do. Where would we go? What was he going to show me? Freaky. Shadow and I walked quietly through the halls. I could faintly see the outlines of people who were not in the Shadow Plane and became shocked to see Shadow simply pass through them as if they weren't there. As a couple of people passed through me, I felt instinctively strange, but physically felt nothing. It was like a ghost. We truly were shadows. As we arrived at the war room, Shadow stopped me and peered inside. I crouched and looked through the door as well, hiding out of instinct.
Who are you? You're like a little kitty person.
Oh, hi. Ooh, boy. Ooh, the anatomy. Okay, ignoring it. Inside were Diana and a person covered in a cloak. Diana's face painted emotions very clearly as one of agitation towards the girl who stood before her at her attention.
Shama, I understand that he didn't accept it, but where did you take it?
I was told to throw it away.
Your master told you to throw it away?
As I said, ma'am.
Diana gazed at the hooded figure, bringing her stare into her soul. However, Diana could only sigh. What was Diana asking about? What did the figure throw away?
Very well. You are dismissed.
What was that? The demon bowed and left the room, passing through me in Shadow. I still felt weird that people were able to go through me, but I shook it out as Shadow cleared his throat.
Scare the succubus.
That's a terrible idea. She'll kill me. What? I looked up at Shadow, surprised at his demand. However, his cold gaze pierced back into mine, letting me know that he was serious about what he's asked me to do. What he asked of me, whatever. I instantly became nervous and a little fearful. I had to scare Diana. How? The idea of appearing behind her came in my mind, but Shadow seemed to know what I was thinking.
Scare her from this play.
Now things became complicated. This was a space where I was just walking through people. How was I going to even phase her in this world? I looked into the room, taking note of everything. The light in the room was pretty bright. Her shadow was casting against the wall, mimicking Diana's actual movements. Was I able to do anything with that? What about the light in the room? Is it possible to dim the lights like a ghost? It seemed a bit complicated, but it could be fun. I took a moment to think before deciding. Mess with her shadow. It seemed like the most simple plan, so I decided to go through with it. I quickly rushed in, hugged the wall next to Diana's shadow. With a closer view, the shadow seemed almost as detailed as her real person. Every strand of hair had a pigment of darkness. It was kind of cool the more I stared, but I had a job to do. I focused on her head, noting the horns protruding from it. The shadow made it look like she had ears. Fairly cute. Maybe that could do something. I raised a hand and ran my fingers along her horns of the shadow, hoping to grasp it somehow. Suddenly I shot my head to Diana as she released a moan. She bent over the table, gripping her horns. The horn I caressed via shadow with a slightly shaky hand. What the hell? Did I do that? Diana looked around, her face as red as a tomato. Were her horns a weakness? I think they are. I think they always are. I grazed my finger along her shadow again, over her other horn, out of curiosity. Stop this nonsense! Stop it now! Diana gripped her other horn and bent further, hiding her horns in her shadow. However, I became mildly excited. I could touch her without touching her. Yep, because that makes sense. This made no sense. Yep, but it was working. I could only guess that this was the power of shadow demons. Diana stood straight up, taking a breath before letting out a sigh. Yeah, sorry.
Dear, I know you're there.
Touch her butt, I dare you. How the hell did she know? As Shadow switched to the real world, I felt my body force itself back as well, like I had run out of energy. I finally felt warmth consume my body, making me feel dizzy and lightheaded. No, what?
She's done quite well. She went into the shadow plane without much hesitation.
I see.
I naturally hugged the wall. Feeling the after effects of the transfer dance over my body like rippling waves of wind. It felt so strange. I knew I still had a lot of energy, but I wasn't able to stay in the shadow plane for long.
I'm surprised she managed to stay there for as long as she did. I expected her to phase out before we came here.
To do what, exactly?
Nothing. Shadow stared at Diana blankly before turning toward the door and walking out.
Come. We have more work to do.
Bye, Diana. She's like, son of a bitch. The irritated look on Diana's face looked semi-hilarious, but I shook my head and ran after Shadow, pumped to learn more. How did I do all of that?
Curious, are you?
Very curious. Well, yeah, I'm your student after all. I want to know. As we walked back to the library, Shadow looked to me and gave a slight smirk.
You are quite interesting for a human.
Thank you. I felt a bit flattered and ran my hand behind my neck, bearing a shy smile. I had to admit I was acting like a little girl who had just learned about candy. Still, I had a very good reason. I did something I never imagined I could do. It was, well, worth the excitement. Shadow shook his head and let out a sigh.
While it is impossible for us to touch anyone in the shadow plane, let alone assassinate them, it is very possible to distract them or affect the light sources of the world.
Like how I did?
Indeed. A shadow is more than just a reaction to light. It is also a part of a person's being, able to be used to, let's just say, get a message across.
So I can't kill anybody from the shadow plane?
No, but you can very easily make them feel as if they aren't alone, putting them on alert and giving you a good chance to kill them while they're distracted.
I took a moment to take in what he had meant. I could see how manipulating the shadows were a great benefit in battle. However, apparently I had a time limit for how long I could be in the shadows. At least it wasn't entirely overpowered. The remainder of the day became focused on me manipulating the light and shadow in the library. While being in the shadow plane was fun, it was only effective if the targets of my movements were either sources of light or had distinct shadows of their own. At the end of the day, I was exhausted. Who knew using dark magic would be so difficult? Still, I guess I had a potential, or else I would have succeeded in passing the test. I wouldn't have succeeded in passing the test, Shadow threw at me. Whatever. I'd be proud of that much. I slumped and fell onto the ground, exhausted. I had definitely used up a lot of energy, and it was foreign. It was a foreign feeling to me as a human. It's like my body became heavier with each breath I took. It was entirely painful. A small huff caused me to look over at Shadow, seeing him stare at me intensely with crossed arms. What?
For a human, you have a large amount of energy. I'm surprised you're not a witch.
I felt a little flustered? Okay. By the statement, despite how strangely it was phrased, I guess Shadow really couldn't genuinely compliment anyone. Wondered why. I had much to learn, but I was excited for the next day as my training ended, and I was sent to my room. And I'm going to end it here, guys, because my brain is fried. It's getting very, very hot in my room. It's very, very hot outside. So, see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.